There's this huge paradox right at the heart of Nigeria's economy. Small businesses are, without a doubt, the engine of growth. But at the same time, they're failing at a truly alarming rate. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack the one powerful, often overlooked reason why, and what you can do to fix it.
So, just to set the stage, let's talk about the sheer scale we're dealing with. Small and medium enterprises in Nigeria, they're not just a small piece of the puzzle. For all intents and purposes, they are the economy. They contribute a whopping 48% to the national GDP. Think about that. That's nearly half of the entire country's economic output, all being driven by these amazing small businesses.
But here's where that paradox really hits home. Despite being so incredibly important, the reality on the ground is just brutal. About 30% of these vital businesses collapse every single year. That's like 1 in every 3 businesses that are fueling the economy won't make it through the next 12 months. It's a massive, massive leak in the economic engine.
And that really begs the question, right? Why? Why is this happening on such a large scale? It's not always about a bad product or a lack of passion from the owners. The research points to something much more fundamental, a hidden factor that so many business owners, maybe even you, overlook until it's just too late. Well, that hidden factor boils down to a really simple but powerful idea: flying blind. I want you to imagine a pilot trying to fly a plane through a storm, but with no instruments, no speedometer, no altitude meter, no fuel gauge, nothing. That is exactly what it's like to run a business without any proper financial records. You're just operating on instinct and hoping for the best, and that is incredibly dangerous.
And this quote it nails the problem. Without the numbers, without the data, you can't make strategic decisions. It's impossible. You're forced to rely on what you think you remember, or your gut feeling, or scribbled notes on the back of a napkin. You feel like you know which product sells best, or if you're turning a profit this month, but you don't actually know. And that's not a strategy, that's just a guess.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at who is actually flying the plane. In almost half of all these small businesses, it's the owner themselves who's responsible for the books. I mean, think about it. These are passionate entrepreneurs, right? They're experts in their craft, not necessarily in accounting. They're already juggling a million other things, and now they've got this super critical task of keeping the records too.
And believe it or not, it gets even riskier from there. It's not just who is keeping the books, it's how they're doing it. A huge 72% are keeping records manually. We're talking pen and paper, folks. Not only is that incredibly time-consuming, but it is just wide open to human error. It makes that instrument panel we were talking about even more unreliable.
Okay, so what's the big deal? What actually happens when a business is flying blind with a faulty instrument panel? Well, the consequences aren't just some abstract concept. They are real, they are expensive, and they kick off this devastating domino effect that can bring even the most promising business to its knees.
So here's what that domino effect looks like in the real world. It starts with something that seems simple. You can't get a loan. You go to a bank and they say, show us your numbers, but you don't have anything credible to show them, so no loan. That means you can't manage your cash flow because you have no real idea what's coming in versus what's going out. From there, it's a slippery slope into mismanaging resources, mixing up personal and business funds, and before you know it, the business just stagnates and collapses. One problem literally causes the next.
So when you lay it all out like this, the choice is, well, it's pretty stark, isn't it? A lot of business owners worry about the cost of, say, hiring a bookkeeper or buying some accounting software. But that cost, whatever it is tiny when you compare it to the ultimate price, the complete and total loss of your business and every single dime you've invested in it.
And look, the research is crystal clear on this. This quote says it all. Whatever you think you're saving by skimping on proper records, it's just an illusion. The financial, and let's be honest, the emotional, cost of business failure is infinitely higher. That's not just an opinion. It's a hard fact, drawn from studying these businesses directly.
All right, so we've talked a lot about the problem. Let's switch gears and talk about the solution. And it all starts with a very simple but really powerful shift in your mindset. I want you to stop thinking of bookkeeping as some boring chore. From now on, start thinking of it as your business's scorecard. It's the tool that tells you in real time whether you are winning or losing the game.
So what exactly is this scorecard we're talking about? At its core, yeah, it's bookkeeping, just the simple act of recording your financial transactions. But its purpose is so much bigger than that. It's your single source of truth. It's the one thing that tells you everything you need to know: your real growth potential, your true earning ability, and your overall financial stability.
And what can this scorecard tell you?
Oh man, it answers all the questions that probably keep you up at night. Which of your products are actually making you money, and which ones are secretly draining your resources? How much money are you really making each month? Are you growing compared to last year? How do you stack up against the competition? See, this isn't guesswork anymore. This is business intelligence.
And once you have that scorecard, it unlocks this really clear path to success. First, you just gain basic financial control. You finally know what's going on. From there, you can handle your taxes accurately and avoid all those nasty penalties. And with that solid foundation, you can now confidently walk into a bank or talk to an investor and get the capital you need. And all of this leads to the ultimate goal. You prevent failure and build a business that's meant to last.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, if this is all so obvious, why don't more small business owners do it? And that's a great question. The research is pretty clear on this too. There are some very real, very understandable barriers that turn this powerful strategic tool into what feels like an impossible chore.
So what's really going on here? Well, the number one reason entrepreneurs give is a simple lack of knowledge. They don't know how to do it. That's followed pretty closely by the idea that it costs too much and that it just takes up too much time. And look, these are all valid concerns, but they all come from the same place, viewing this as a chore instead of a strategy. And that brings us to the most important shift in thinking you can possibly make. Proper record keeping is not a business expense you should try to minimize. It is a strategic investment. It's an investment in clarity, an investment in strategy, and most importantly, it's a direct investment in the survival and future growth of your business.
So I'll leave you with this one final thought. I want you to take a really honest look at your own business. Are you relying on guesswork and memory, just flying blind to the unpredictable skies of business? Or do you have clear, reliable data right there in front of you? Are you reading the scorecard? Because the answer to that question could very well determine your future.